Hello everyone, let us quickly do very small chapter TDS TCS. So what is the rate of TDS under CGST 1%, under IGST 2%. So CGST 1%, SGST 1%, total rate is 2%. Total rate is 2% for TDS. Now if the supplier, place of supply and recipient in the same state, all in the same state, LOS, LOR, POS, everything in the same state, then which TDS is to be deducted? CGST, SGST to be deducted, CGST, SGST to be deducted. If the supplier, place of supply in different state, LOS, POS different state, in that case IGST is to be deducted, IGST is to be deducted. But if the supplier LOS, POS in the same state but the recipient is located in another state, then there is no applicability of TDS. Okay, so LOS, POS in one state, recipient in another state, then there is no applicability of TDS. Now next now who are required to deduct TDS? Now who are required to deduct TDS? So department or establishment of central government, state government. What? Department or establishment. You are a department of central government, you are a department establishment of central government, state government, then you are required to deduct TDS. You are required to deduct TDS. Local authority, governmental agency, notified person, all these are required to deduct TDS. What? Department or establishment of central government, state government, local authority, governmental agencies are required to deduct TDS, and notified person. Who are the notified person? If you are an authority or board, you are an authority or board or any body or any other body which is set up by the act of parliament or state legislature, which is set up by the act of parliament or state legislature, established by government with 51% or more participation, 51% or more participation, and the society established by central government, state government, local authority, and the society established by central government, state government, local authority, and the PSU. All these are required to deduct TDS. All these are required to deduct TDS. All these are required to deduct TDS. Okay. So the person liable to deduct TDS is department or establishment of central government, state government, local authority, governmental agencies, and the notified person. If you are an authority or board which is set up by the act of parliament, state legislature, or established by government with 51% or more participation, then you are required to deduct TDS. You are required to deduct TDS. If you are a society established by central government, state government, local authority, you are required to deduct TDS. You are a PSU, public sector undertaking, you are required to deduct TDS. All these person are required to deduct TDS. Now, who are not liable to deduct TDS? When the goods or services are supplied from a PSU to another PSU, one PSU supplying goods or services to another PSU, then TDS is not required to be deducted. Whether or not a distinct person. So one PSU supplying goods or services to another PSU, TDS is not required to be deducted. When supply of goods or services takes place between one person to another person specified in A to D, these all person supplying to each other, department or establishment of central government is supplying to department or establishment of central government or local authority. So these persons supplying between each other, then also TDS is not deducted. TDS is not deducted. It is clarified that the provision of section 51 are applicable only to such authority, board or body set up by the parliament or state legislature established by government in which 51% or more participation by way of equity or control is with the government. If the 51% or more participation or by way of equity or control is with the government, then also these provisions are applicable. So this is what they are saying, the authority or board established with government of 51% or more participation. So they have made it clarified also that which authority or board to these provisions are applicable. TDS provisions are applicable to such authority or board which are established by government in which 51% or more participation by way of equity or control is with the government. Equity or control is with the government. Then what is the threshold limit? Total value of supply under a contract is more than 2.5 lakhs. When the total value of supply under a contract is more than 2.5 lakhs. Total value, not individual supplies. Total value under a contract. The contract value is more than 2.5 lakh. TDS is applicable, exclusive of GST. This 2.5 lakh that you have to calculate is exclusive of GST. So in exam, on this point the question will come, individual supplies may be of 1111 lakh, that doesn't matter. The total value of contract is for example 4 lakhs, then TDS is applicable. Okay, so it should be more than 2.5 lakhs. So it is again 2.5 lakh, it should be exclusive of GST, okay. Rate of deduction we know, total rate 2%, 1% CGST, 1% SGST, okay, or if IGST then 2%. What is the due date of payment of TDS to the government? Within 10 days from the end of the month. After the end of the month, the due date is within 10 days, 10 days. So March TDS will pay to the government by 10th of April, 10th of April. Now manner of account of TDS by the TDS deductor. Such deductors need to compulsory register under section 24 in registration chapter. We have seen what compulsory registration, they have to take compulsory registration under section 24. They need to remit such TDS collected by 10th of the month succeeding the month in which TDS was collected. When you have to remit it to the government by 10th of the month succeeding the month in which TDS is collected, the amount of TDS will be reflected in electronic cash ledger of supplier. Very important point. Where it is reflected in electronic cash ledger, not credit ledger. The amount of TDS which you have deducted, it will be reflected in supplier's electronic cash ledger. Then they need to issue what? Certificate of TDS to the deductee, to all the deductees of whose TDS you have deducted. You have to, what you have to do, you have to issue a certificate. You have to issue a certificate within 5 days. 5 days of deducting the TDS, failing which fees of 100 per day. Fees of 100 per day subject to maximum of 5,000 will be payable by such deductor. Fees of 100 per day subject to maximum of 5,000 will be payable by such deductor. So what you have to issue? You have to issue certificate of the TDS. Certificate of the TDS to the deductee you have to issue within 5 days of deducting TDS. Failing which fees of 100 rupees per day, 100 rupees per day subject to maximum of 5,000 will be payable by such deductor. Next, manner of account of TDS by the supplier. Any amount shown as TDS will be reflected in electronic cash ledger as we have discussed, and he can use the amount towards discharging any liability. See, electronic cash ledger's amount can be used for discharge of tax, interest, penalty, late fee, any other amount. So yes, it can be used. This amount can be used like any other amount of electronic cash ledger. Now, consequences of not complying with TDS provisions. Now, if you have not deducted the TDS, for example, you have not deducted the TDS, then you have to pay the interest. What you have to pay? You have to pay the interest along with the TDS amount, else the amount shall be determined and recovered as per the law. So if the TDS is not deducted, consequences of not complying, TDS is not deducted, then you have to pay the interest along with the TDS. TDS certificate you have not issued, or there is a delay beyond the prescribed period of 5 days, then 100 rupees per day subject to maximum of 5,000 will be the late fees. TDS deducted but not paid to the government after the 10th of the succeeding month, then interest to be paid along with the TDS amount, else the amount will be determined and recovered as per the law. And if you are filing the return, TDS return late, in that case also what would be the late fees? 100 rupees per day subject to maximum of 5,000, So in this particular TDS especially, you have to remember this one particular point: the total value under a contract is more than 2.5 lakhs exclusive of GST, then only TDS is to be deducted, and it has to be deducted at total rate of 2%. These two are very important points. Next is TCS. In case of TCS, what is the rate? Under CGST 0.5, SGST 0.5, total rate 1%. Total rate 1%. Who is the person liable to collect TCS? Is ECO, every electronic commerce operator. Every electronic commerce operator is required to collect TCS, What is the threshold limit? There is no threshold limit in this. What is the rate of collection? Again 1% total rate, CGST plus SGST or IGST if we will say. What is the value for collection of TCS? Net value. On what value you will collect? Net value of taxable supply. And when you will pay it to the government, what is the due date of payment of TCS to the government? Is within 10 days from the end of the month. What is the net value of taxable supply? Aggregate value of taxable supply of goods or services. Aggregate value of taxable supply of goods or services minus the taxable supply returned to supplier. Okay, this is what the net value of taxable supply. Okay, next. Filing of statement to be filed. Monthly statement you have to file by 10th of the succeeding month. By 10th of the succeeding month you have to find the monthly statement. Annual TCS statement you have to furnish by 31st of the succeeding financial year. So this all again we are going to discuss in returns chapter definitely. Key points are: every ECO is required to collect TCS on behalf of actual supplier where consideration with respect to supply is being collected by ECO. Whenever ECO is collecting consideration on behalf of the supplier, they have to collect what? TCS. The ECO should make the collection during the month in which supply is made. In which month supply is made, you have to collect TCS in that month only. Details of TCS furnished by ECO to be made available electronically only to the registered supplier. We have already discussed this. The ECO shall be the details, whatever TCS ECO is collecting, it is to be made available electronically to each of the registered supplier. To each of the registered supplier, it will be made available on the common portal. On the common portal, after filing of GSTR 8 for claiming the amount of TCS in the electronic cash ledger after validation. Okay, so the details of TCS, collected, will be furnished by ECO, will be made available electronically to each of the registered supplier on the common portal. It should be made available to each of the registered supplier on the common portal. Okay, only registered suppliers. It will be made available to only registered supplier on the common portal after ECO has filed GSTR 8, after ECO has filed the GSTR 8. So then after ECO has filed GSTR 8, it will be reflected in the registered person's electronic cash ledger. So this were very quick provisions for the chapter TDS and TCS. Okay, so whenever the question will come in the exam, please don't leave marks in this. And we'll stop our discussion over there here for this marathon of TCS TDS. And thank you for now.